There was a friar, a wanton one and merry, a limiter, a very festive fellow. In all 4 orders there was none so mellow, so glib with gallant phrase and well-turned speech. He'd fixed up many a marriage, giving each of his young women what he could afford her. He was a noble pillar to his order, highly beloved, and intimate was he with country folk within his boundary, and city dames of honor and possessions, for he was qualified to hear confessions, or so he said. With more than priestly scope, he had a special license from the Pope. Sweetly he heard his penitents at shrift, with pleasant absolution, for a gift. He was an easy man in penance-giving, where he could hope to make a decent living. It's a sure sign whenever gifts are given to a poor order that a man's well shriven. And should he give enough, he knew in verity, the penitent repented in sincerity. For many a fellow is so hard of heart he cannot weep for all his inward smart. Therefore, instead of weeping and of prayer, one should give silver for a poor friar's care. He kept his tippet stuffed with pins for curls and pocket knives to give to pretty girls. And certainly his voice was gay and sturdy, for he sang well and played the hurdy-gurdy. At sing-songs he was champion of the hour. His neck was whiter than a lily flower, but strong enough to butt a bruiser down. He knew the taverns well in every town, and every innkeeper and barmaid too, better than lepers, beggars, and that crew. For in so eminent a man as he, it was not fitting with the dignity of his position dealing with a scum of wretched lepers. Nothing good can come of dealings with the slum and gutter dwellers, but only with the rich and victual sellers. But anywhere a profit might accrue, courteous he was, and lowly of service too. Natural gifts like his were hard to match. He was the finest beggar of his batch, and for his begging district he paid a rent. His brethren did no poaching where he went. For though a widow mightn't have a shoe so pleasant as his howdy-do, he got his farthing from her just the same before he left, and so his income came to more than he laid out. And how he romped just like a puppy. He was ever prompt to arbitrate disputes on settling days, for a small fee in many helpful ways. Not that appearing as your cloistered scholar with threadbare habit hardly worth $1, but much more like a doctor or a pope. Of double worsted was the semi-cope upon his shoulders, and the swelling fold about him like a bell about its mould, when its casting rounded out his dress. He lisped a little, out of wantonness, to make his English sweet upon his tongue. When he had played his harp, or having sung, his eyes would twinkle in his head as bright as any star upon a frosty night. This worthy's name was Hubert, it appeared. There was a merchant with a forking beard and motley dress. High on his horse he sat, upon his head a Flemish beaver hat, and on his feet daintily buckled boots. He told of his opinions and pursuits in solemn tones, and how he never lost. The sea should be kept free at any cost, he thought, upon the Harwich Holland range. He was expert at currency exchange. This estimable merchant so had set his wits to work, none knew he was in debt. He was so stately in negotiation, loan, bargain, and commercial obligation. He was an excellent fellow all the same. To tell the truth, I do not know his name. An Oxford cleric, still a student though, one who had taken logic long ago, was there. His horse was thinner than a rake, and he was not too fat, I undertake, but had a hollow look, a sombre stare. The thread upon his overcoat was bare. He had no preferment in the church, and he was too unworldly to make a search for secular employment. By his bed he preferred having 20 books in red and black of Aristotle's philosophy to having fine clothes, fiddle, or psaltery. Though a philosopher, as I have told, he had not found the stone for making gold. Whatever money from his friends he took, he spent on learning or another book, and prayed for them most earnestly, returning thanks to them thus for paying for his learning. His only care was study, and indeed he never spoke a word more than was need, formal at that, respectful in the extreme, short, to the point, and lofty in his theme. And thought of moral virtue filled his speech, and he would gladly learn and gladly teach.